So, good morning everyone. Good morning class. So, as you can see here, we have here the Pythagorean theorem. So, by the way, I am Stokoning Jarem Aurelian. I am Teacher Ja. So, at this point of time, we're going to discuss or we're going to tackle about the Pythagorean theorem. Anyone from the class, when you hear the word Pythagorean theorem, what comes out into your minds? Anyone? Yes, Kashano.
I only know that Pythagorean theorem is proposed by
Alright, so you're
Pythagoras.
correct. So, Pythagorean theorem was proposed by Pythagoras. So, to know further what is Pythagorean theorem is, so we need to continue. So, apply the Pythagorean theorem to determine a known side in right triangles in the real world and mathematical problems in 2 and 3 dimensions. So, the learning objectives of this lesson, we have here at the end of these lessons, the students may able to identify the 3 sides of a right triangle and the correlation of the Pythagorean theorem. Second, apply the Pythagorean theorem in solving unknown sides of a right triangle. And the third one is make a creative presentation embedded with the Pythagorean theorem. So that was our learning objectives. So we have here a triangle with the length of each of the 3 sides. So we have here the side A, which is 3, side B, which is 4, and side C, which is 5. So the Pythagorean theorem states the sum of the squares of the legs of a right triangle are equal to the square of the hypotenuse. So we have here, let's say for instance that side A is 9 and side B is 16. So the value of the third side is 25. Why? Because the sum of the squares of the legs of a triangle are equal to the square of the hypotenuse. So 9 plus 16 is equal to 25. So that's it. So what is the Pythagorean theorem in symbol form? Anyone? Did you know what is a symbol form of a Pythagorean theorem? Alright, so you're correct. Thank you. So we have here a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Which of these variables represent the hypotenuse? So which? Did you know which of these variables represent the hypotenuse? Alright, so that was the letter C. Next is, once you have figured out which is C, does it matter which leg is A and which is B? It matters or it doesn't matter? Yes, Paltingka?
It doesn't matter, Mom.
Alright, so thank you. You're correct. So, it doesn't matter. So, we have here steps to solve for a missing side of right triangle using the Pythagorean theorem. So, take notes. The following are the basic steps for solving a Pythagorean theorem problem. First is write the formula, of course. Step 2, substitute known values for the variables. Next is solve for the missing variable. Let's break this down a little further. So, finding the missing side of a right triangle. Anytime you are asked to find the missing side of a right triangle, the problem will generally boil down to one of 2 scenarios. So we have 2 scenarios in solving the missing side of a right triangle. So the first scenario is you have both legs and you have to find the hypotenuse, which is the longest side. In scenario number 2, you have one leg and the hypotenuse, and you have to find the other leg. So, see the difference. So, let's continue. So, we have here scenario number 1. The two sides are given and we need to find the longest side or the hypotenuse. In finding this one, of course, we need to follow the steps. So, the step 1 is we need to write the formula, which is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Next step is to substitute the given values using the Pythagorean formula. So, we have here 8 squared plus 15 squared is equal to c squared. If you have some calculator there, you can try to input 8 squared plus 15 squared so that you can catch up as soon as possible. Step 3, simplify the side without the c by squaring the two numbers and adding them together. So, you need to get the square of the two numbers, and of course, you need to add them so that you can derive the square root of this given answer. So, we have here 64 plus 225 is equal to c squared. So, 64 plus 225 is equal to 289. Are we done enough? Correct. We are not done yet. We have found c squared but not just plain c. So we need to find the square root of 289. So that's the step 4. So square root of 289, try to input in your scientific calculator or in your calculator. Square root of 289 is equal to, what's the answer? Alright, so the answer is 17. That's correct. So we're told to solve for x, not for c. So we should replace the c with an x. So that's it. So the value of our x is 17. Alright, so let's have a brief summary about scenario number 1. What does all of this boil down to? So if you have, in scenario number 1, you have the two sides of a right triangle are given. Then you need to find the longest side or the hypotenuse. So you just directly square both legs. Second is add them together. Next is take the square root of the result, of course. Next is you have your hypotenuse and you can derive the final answer if you could follow these steps. So this is the brief summary of scenario number 1. When you have two sides are already given and you need to find the hypotenuse. Is that clear? Alright, I have here some example first so that we can test if you could really receive or achieve the discussion. So try this one in your notes. This is belong to scenario number 1. Find x. We have here a right triangle. The two sides are given, which is 5 feet, and the second side, which is 12 feet, and we need to find x. So first, we need to write the formula. So we have here, try to input in your calculator if you have. So 5 squared is equal to 25. And then 12 squared is equal to 144. So you need to add 25 plus 144 so that you can derive the answer. But you are not done yet because the x is not plain. It has an exponent of 2. So you need to find the square root of 169. You need to find the square root of 25 plus 144 so that you can derive the exact answer of this given problem. No? Alright, so 25 plus 144 equal to 169. So, square root of 169, try to input in your calculator, square root of 169 is equal to, alright, so the value of x is 13. So, did you catch up the example? So, this is the example for scenario number 1. So, shall we proceed now? By the way, any questions about scenario number 1? Clarifications? Okay, none. So, let's proceed to scenario number 2. So, scenario number 2 have hypotenuse, need 1 leg. So, find x, round to the nearest hundredth. So, we have here, the hypotenuse is already given and the one side is already given. So, we need to find the other side, which is the x. Take notes. I have here a question. Can we do the same way we did the other example? Of course not. It's because they are similar. Not exactly the same, but similar. No? So, let's start this one the same way we did the other ones and see what happens. So, here we go again. Alright, so step 1, write the formula. We have here a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And step 2 is to substitute. Okay, so here is we have to do something a little different. We have plug in the hypotenuse and one of the leg. No? The next is which number goes where? So you need to identify the hypotenuse. It's the one opposite of the right angle. So don't forget that the hypotenuse of a right triangle is always opposite to its right angle. Diba? So, the opposite of a right angle is the hypotenuse, which is 14 inches. So, we need one more variable replaced in order to solve for the missing variable. So, we need to replace either A or B with the one leg length we have, which is 6. So, as you can see, let's say for instance that A is X and B is 6 and C is 14. So that we can able to derive the answer easily. So does it matter whether we use A equals 6 or B equals to 6? Alright, so it doesn't matter. No is the answer. So let's set B or side B is equal to 6 and make a missing length. So we need to find A. We have here. Alright, so simplify by squaring both the numbers. So A squared plus 36 equals to 196. So where do we get 36? So that's 6 squared. Then 196, get that from 14 squared. So at this point, in the previous example, we added the two squares together, right? Alright, so this time, the squares are on opposite sides of the equal sign. So to combine them, we have to do this, to combine them, we have to do the opposite operation. So here we have subtract the smaller from the larger. So we have here A squared plus 36 equals to 196. Then we need to subtract 196 minus 36 is equal to 160. Then we need to find the square root of 160. So it is square root of 160 is 12.646. 12.64911, or we need to round it up to the nearest hundred, so we could say that 12.65. Alright, so that's correct. 12.65. So I have here a brief summary in scenario number 2. What does all of this boil down to? So of course, you need to square the hypotenuse and leg. Second, subtract the leg squared from the hypotenuse squared. Third is, take the square root of the result. And then, of course, the last one, you have your missing leg, and you could easily find and derive the correct answer. So, what is the difference between the two scenarios? So, the difference of the two scenarios, anyway, both have you squaring the given sides. Both have you using the square root at the end. And the only difference is in the middle. So, as you could see, scenario number 1 has you adding the numbers. And in scenario number 2, you're subtracting the smaller from the larger. So, what does this mean? So, it means when you have two sides of a right triangle, you can find the third using the Pythagorean theorem. So, Pythagorean theorem is very useful in solving right triangle in order for you to make it easy and derive the correct answer. So, you can do this by squaring both of the measurement you have. So, that's it. And add or subtract the two numbers depending on whether or not you have the hypotenuse. Subtract if you have it. Add if you don't. So, that's the meaning. Find the square root of the result and you have your missing side. So, try this one in your notes. This belongs to scenario number 1. Round your answer to the nearest hundredth if necessary. So, we have here 15, 20, and x. We need to find the longest side. So, 15 squared, try to input in your calculator. 15 squared, that's 15 squared is 225, and 20 squared is equal to 400. So, square root of 15 squared plus 20 squared is equal to 25. So, the answer of this example is 25. So, I have here another example. This given problem is belong to scenario number 2, which is the one side is given and we need to find the hypotenuse. At this point, we're going to still find again the hypotenuse, which is the longest side, which is opposite to the right angle measure of 90. So, 12 square root of 12 squared plus 7 squared is equal to, what's your answer? 13.89. So, that's correct. 13.89. So, I have here an example. So, in this case, the hypotenuse on the one side are already given. So, you need to find the other side. So, we have here 5 squared square root of 5 squared minus 3 squared is equal to, so the answer is 4. this scenario is belong to scenario number 2. You have the hypotenuse given and the one side earlier given, and you need to find the other side. So next example. Still, it is belong to scenario number 2 since you have the value of the third side. You have the value of the hypotenuse or the longest side or the opposite side of a right angle and one side, and you need to find the other side. So still round your answer to the nearest hundred if necessary. So we have here square root of 30 squared minus 7 squared is equal to 29.17. Alright, so that's correct. That's 29.17. So that could be all. I hope you could understand further about our discussion this day. So, do you have any clarifications or questions regarding our topic this morning?
None so far, Mom.
Alright, so none. So, I will just inform you that I will just chat on our GC that I will post our quiz to assess or to test your knowledge if you could really understand our discussion this day. Alright, so that could be all. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless you all. Thank you.